Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special, the first episode of 2021. This is the very first episode of 2021 of the Hallway Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the man that genetics forgot, Rian, and joining me today is the man who defined Ring of Honor as the owner from 2004 until 2011. He's now an ambassador and is also an amazing podcast host with alongside Ian Riccaboni on Last Stop Penn Station. It's Cary Silkin. How are you, sir?
Very well. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have
I
you.
got the first question. The
Okay.
man who genetics forgot.
Yeah, I'm glad someone has asked that because I've never had someone ask that. So obviously,
I'm sorry. My mind goes to strange places. So go ahead.
oh well, I have had a history of having plenty of operations and I've gotten hurt a lot. So I decided to do a play on that with Pac, or Neville's nickname, which was the man that Gravity forgot in
Right.
WWE. So I decided when we did the podcast, I needed to have some sort of thing that I can put on a T-shirt in 20 years. So I was like, I'll go with the man that United forgot and see what happens.
Okay. It's a good moniker.
Yeah, we actually made some really crappy T-shirts and put them on a site that does T-shirts for you. And I had like the Becky Lynch the man shirt, but then I had like that United forgotten small writing underneath. So we were already starting to make moves with the nickname, but we haven't trademarked it yet. So yeah, so it's amazing to like lockdown has been negative in general, but it's led us to like find new hobbies, and one of them I found through. We have to give a shout out to the Ringsiders, Jamie and Callum. They're fantastic lads.
Good
To your
boys.
they introduced me to your wonderful podcast with Ian Riccaboni. How you've obviously been a storyteller. I can tell from when you're telling stories that you've been a storyteller a long time. How did that kind of turn from just telling stories with your friends to kind of turning it into a very, very successful and very good podcast?
Well, maybe it has to do with staying alive so by staying alive and accumulating stories I've had a lot of different phases to my life. Ring of Honor phase is like part three.
Yeah,
I had my time, not doing so well, with a lot of problems with drug and alcohol abuse and hustling to make money. And was always a wrestling fan. And so I've just been able to accumulate these stories. And over the years, as these events and these situations would happen, I would always tell my friends about these stories. And then, of course, with the Ring of Honor added on, I figured it was time to let these stories, let these things out. We're also working with my cousin, Mike G., who's a published author. His first book was about the 1960 original Woodstock. You know what I'm talking about? The
uh,
1969 Woodstock
I've heard
Festival,
I've heard of it. Yeah, well, I'll
the
have to do my
famous
research.
rock and roll, 600,000 people. Anyway, but yeah, so that was Mike's first book, and Mike is doing my book, Last Stop Penn Station. So I don't know if I answered your question properly, but
Oh no,
that's what I got.
it's yeah. You got to put them stories. Sometimes there's too many stories to just keep inside. You want to get them out, and the dynamic is amazing because Ian Riccaboni, who's a fantastic commentator, is my favorite moments are when you're telling these mad stories and fantastic stories, and Ian's laugh is just so infectious. Everyone, that man needs to trademark that laugh, or that laugh is just so infectious and so amazing because it's so organic. Because he genuinely hasn't heard these stories before, and it's a really cool dynamic. It's
Well,
fantastic.
compared to the lifestyle that I led at parts of my life, he's like a little babe in the woods. He's like, seriously, he's like, he was never, he was never a drug guy, or he might just have a beer, but So when I'm telling them these wild tales, and I'm not endorsing the use of drugs. You know, I've been in rehabs like 3 times, even a few years ago. With I was clean for like 16 years, and then I had some surgeries, and I got involved with the pills. You know, the pain pills.
Yeah.
And being the good drug addict that I am, I was like, ooh. So we're here to tell you that you know, it's not all fun and games at all. You know, most of these stories from that era, when I was on, you know, working hustling tickets on the streets, they're not pretty. They sound funny because there's all these characters, but it's a miracle that I survived, that anyone survived it. So I'm grateful to have survived it. I'm lucky. And just think, everything you've done and everything I've done has led us to this moment right now.
Oh, everything happens for a reason, and I'm really glad you brought up the scalping in New York, because my first note on my list here is I listened to the podcast this morning on the way to work, and the most recent one, and the stories of Mama Pretzel and the scalping, because when we compare it to scalping today is like people selling second PS5s when they're not PS5s for Christmas, or selling stuff on the dark web. But like this, compare that to back in the stories you were telling on the most recent podcast, it seemed like a crazy world where like nothing was off limits. What was that like, living in that kind of hustle and bustle and scalping era?
Well, I mean, it still goes on.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, like, let's talk pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. If you go to a concert or to a football match or American football or any event, there's still ticket hustling on the streets. And back when, but the thing when I was doing it, in the 80s, man, does that make me sound old, huh dude? But there was no internet. There was no secondary ticket market. There was no StubHub. I don't know. I think in Europe, in England, gigantic tickets, isn't that but there was no online. What I'm going to is, if you wanted to go see your favorite band, or you wanted to go to a sporting event that you knew was sold out, right? You want to go see Metallica, or you want to go see whoever, Billy Joel or Bruce Springsteen or Madonna, whoever you might like or not like, and you knew it was sold out, but you went, you know, people would come anyway without tickets sometimes, you know, maybe thinking they could get a bargain, or sometimes they just had to go. But now, you know, people don't go to these events. Very few people walk up, as they say. So it was just such a different scene. It's very hard to imagine. But I mean, when I was your age, before I was, you know, in the ticket hustle, we would go to these games and go to Yankee Stadium or go to see Led Zeppelin and have no tickets. And we're like, you know, fuck it. We'll try to get in. We'll try to, you know, see what we could do. So it was a different era. So nothing's as good as it used to be.
Yeah, because you see a lot of people nowadays, even if they don't have a ticket for wrestling events or even concerts, they're so loud and so high production. You see people crowding outside just to get that atmosphere and the song and just soaking up the atmosphere. But was there much difference in, like, could you, if you were outside the stadium back in the day, could you still enjoy the atmosphere, or was it you had to be in the stadium too? You had to be there, or was that why the desperation for like tickets or hustling was going on?
Oh, you mean as a fan?
Yeah, as a fan, yeah.
People that went there wanting tickets, you know, they wanted to get inside. You know, there was a certain number of people that would just go to hang out.
Yeah.
Like sometimes at these outdoor stadium concerts, I'm going to bring up these, like the Grateful Dead, and these shows that would be in front of the Who in front of 50,000 people. There were people that were happy just hanging out, but ultimately people wanted to get in, of course.
Yeah.
So, and it's still that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone goes to these events just to stand outside in the parking lot anymore.
No, it's you have to be there to experience it. But then fast forward to modern era, and you're in that same, I heard you talk about how the scalping tickets outside Madison Square Garden, and fast forward and Ring of Honor is hosting a huge Madison Square Garden event. That must have been that kind of the two eras, as you were talking about the eras in your life, those two eras like meshing together and creating a really cool moment for you.
Well, it's beyond cool. It's like the pin. Plus, as a young kid, I lived like 40 minutes outside of New York City. So that's my little cat.
Not lamb chop.
Lamb chop, how you doing, honey? She's sick. So yeah, I would go to the Garden. For my dad was a good guy. He took me to see ice hockey and eventually pro wrestling. They had this strange. Do you know what a blue law is?
I'm not familiar.
Well, like for example, pubs have to close at a certain time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's a blue law, or they can't sell liquor on a certain day, a holiday. So in New York State Athletic Commission, when I was first started watching wrestling, they had these blue laws that you had to be 14 years old to go to boxing or wrestling. Plus, they had blue laws that there were no women wrestlers, there were no masked wrestlers, there were no gimmick matches like cage matches or chain matches. So I saw wrestling before I was 14, but I wanted to go to the Garden. And my dad took me to the Garden for my 14th birthday to see wrestling. So I was going to a lot of events at Madison Square Garden, sporting events, wrestling, concerts, and then to be hustling tickets in front of the Garden, which is not like the most prestigious thing, but then to actually be in the ring, in the building, walking out, with Ring of Honor in April 6, 2019, it's like a fairy tale kind of thing. The odds of this happening would be like hitting some giant lottery.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, it was an amazing event, and I didn't know your story before then, and it's really cool. It adds something to that kind of night as something special. Obviously we are an Irish podcast. I remember when we were about to get in touch, Jamie asked me would you be able to understand the Irish accent, and I hope that's I hope I'm clear. And I in listening to the podcast, I've heard a few kind of references to Irish stories, and I'd like to get I'd like to hear a bit about them.
Well, I don't know which ones you're referencing.
The one I kind of found very interesting is because I watched a few of their matches. Is the you've mentioned in passing that the CM Punk and Raven storyline with the angered a lot of Irish people in Boston.
Oh yeah. Well, it was not necessarily the Irish, but the Boston area has a lot. It's an old school Irish Catholic stronghold.
Yeah,
and other Catholics. So when we did that was Gabe's brilliant idea to do the X, which was looked at as a cross.
Yeah.
Really, I don't really think it was meant to be, it wasn't meant that way.
Oh yeah, of course.
It got us booted out of that building. In those days of Ring of Honor, we could never hold the building in Boston. I don't know what it was, but we were like in these different suburbs, 5, 6, 7 different buildings. But yeah, that was a mistake for sure.
Yeah, did religion play a big part in kind of the how you booked wrestling shows, or did it come into account more than people think, or was that just a
No,
one-off?
not at all, not at all. And during my time as Ring of Honor owner, we had Gabe Sapolsky as the first, behind the scenes, and then Adam Pierce, and then Delirious, who's still there. I would leave these guys alone, as the owner. Here's the thing. I thought of myself more as like, when you go see a movie, you'll see produced by Martin Scorsese or whomever, but Steven Spielberg presents, right? So it was like Cary Silkin presents Ring of Honor. So what does that mean? Well, I would have the best person, working with the wrestlers. We try, we upped our production and we brought in lighting and tried to, give us an atmosphere of a show. And so that was my job, trying to get the best people. I didn't really, as far as like the booking, and I would make suggestions or hey, I like this guy, or I didn't like something, but I pretty well left the people alone. I was responsible for just setting up, hopefully having the right people in the right place.
Yeah, and then there was one story that had me laughing more than most, because I love when like people are very keen on the Irish, and it's the Kevin O'Sullivan story that you told on one of the podcasts.
You like that? Yeah, that's a classic.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, and that's not even my story.
Oh, please.
That's Gary Juster.
Please.
Gary Juster, who works for Ring of Honor, booking the buildings. He worked for years for WCW, and even before that for NWA. And there was that story with the old athletic commissioner guy from Baltimore. And if you want to hear all the details, if you want to hear all the details, go to Last Stop Penn Station podcast, available on iTunes and Spotify and every other damn place. You could probably put a metal rod up in the sky and it'll come. But
we'll be linking that.
All the details there.
Yeah, we'll be linking that down in the description. But it's a blast. And I obviously, as I was telling you before we started, it's a small world, and I am quite familiar with Greg and the Ring of Honor, all the people that come. It's amazing to see and to hear the stories of people from all walks of the world coming together for these Ring of Honor WrestleMania weekends. And when I was talking to Greg, he mentioned the Orlando in 2008, when 125 people from all walks of the world gathered together in that big. And he said it was one of the best weekends of his life. What was that like as a promoter, to see so many people from all these different walks of life share a beer and like have a great time?
Well, Greg H is like a wonderful man. He's just a super guy, and we're lucky that he was attracted to Ring of Honor, and he, as far as that particular event, that was his doing. He would have all these fans, or he would organize it, and it was awesome, man. It was a lot of fun. I've made a lot of good friends through the years, not just with the wrestlers or people in the business, but fans like Greg H. And that I still see to this day. Well, not the last 8 months, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very special. Very, I'm very lucky and blessed.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wish I could have been born 10 years earlier and could have
How old are you?
I'm 19 years of age. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, barely legal.
Legal here, not in America. So
legal here too.
But I'm as well as doing this podcast, I study journalism in college, and when I was listening to the podcast and looking up a lot of stuff, I read that one of your early days, one of the chapters in your life was working for a lucha libre magazine in Puerto Rico, and I found that fascinating. I just wanted to get your thoughts on or anything you.
Well, I didn't work for it. I published it.
Yeah.
And my aforementioned cousin Mike, that's doing the book, he's a longtime writer, mainly music, ranging everything from metal to country and western. He's interviewed everybody. I mean, he's old. He's 4 years older than me, so he's really old. So he was working for a company in the late 90s, and he was the editor of Metal Maniacs, and he was also doing a magazine, Wrestling World, that had been around for years. So we went to Puerto Rico on vacation, and we got hooked up with the promoters in Puerto Rico. We went to some shows, and I had this brilliant idea. What if we do a wrestling magazine in Spanish in Puerto Rico? And he's like, what are you, crazy? Mm-hmm. You're talking about distribution. You're talking about, translation, layout, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, don't you know people that do all that? And he's like, well, I know people that do the layout, and I guess I could find a translator. And I said to the company he worked for had this was in the dying days of the magazines. Yeah. I mean, they still publish magazines, but when the internet really hadn't taken over. Make a long story short, the company he worked for, all their magazines were on the newsstands in Puerto Rico. So we got in touch with the guy that was in charge of the distribution. He's like, yeah, fine, we'll put it out there, because if they don't sell, they give them back. And then we needed cooperation from the two wrestling companies. There was the IWA with Victor Quinones, mm-hmm. and there was the WWC with Carlos Colon and Victor Jovica. That was the company, about the Bruiser Brody incident?
Yeah, I've heard it.
All right, so that was those guys.
Oh, okay.
So all we needed was the cooperation of the two wrestling companies, and our intention was to put out the magazine every other month. Well, we wound up doing it every other. We wound up doing 4 issues in 2 years. We just couldn't get the right cooperation. IWA worked with us. Carlos Colon's guys were rough to work with. There's some incredible stories, just wild stuff down there. We're lucky we got out of there alive. Mm-hmm. If they killed Bruiser Brody, what the hell they get? You got to hear the stories. But we got 4 issues out. It was a lot of fun, and that sort of got me into the wrestling business behind the scenes, let's say, and. At the same time that was going on, Ring of Honor was starting, and one thing led to another, and here we are almost 20 years later.
That's crazy. Every time we get onto Zoom calls with fans who have been over to Ring of Honor, the one thing that always comes back is that night in Liverpool, Unified in Liverpool in 2006. I have watched that match is one of my favorite matches I've watched ever. I don't know, it being free on YouTube is crazy because it is wrestling perfection. I just want to get your any thoughts or stories from that night. Did you know there was something special in the air when Brian and Nigel came out for that match? And what was it like when Nigel was headbutting that ring post and you could see that?
Nuts. I mean, I know I knew that it was going to be a really good match, but I had no idea what they were, what they were, I don't think anyone had any idea.
No.
And that building in Liverpool, that old theater, the Olympia,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, I was meant to go there for a concert this year. It's still going strong.
Yeah, these crazy guys owned it. These like they were like Greek mobsters. Anyway, it was, the atmosphere in the building was just crazy. It was, every time you hear an interview with an old wrestler, you always hear, oh, the building was sold out. They were hanging off the balconies. Well, in this case, they were. It was pretty much full. If it held 2,000 people, there was probably 1,700 people. But yeah, I mean, that was a special match. I remember sitting at the ringside table, and I'm like, it's just like, it was crazy. That's like probably my second favorite match. My favorite match, and no disrespect to Nigel or Brian, because it was so good, but my personal favorite, which you were probably going to ask me, but that's what was the Samoa Joe Kobashi match.
Oh man, that is that. I told someone this last week. If someone asked me, why do you love wrestling, or what's the difference in, like, why wouldn't I just watch like MMA, or I'm just like, go and watch Joe and Kobashi and tell me that doesn't look like it hurts or even hurts you. You need to watch that match with an ice pack. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was in New York City, and I remember Samoa Joe sitting behind the curtain, like when the show started. The dressing room was upstairs. There was like the room we were in, this hotel ballroom. That's the same complex that has the Hammerstein and the Manhattan Center, which is on the 7th floor. So we were in the small ballroom, which was like, the capacity was supposed to be like 500, but you pay the fire marshal guys.
Yeah.
And so we had like must have had like 700 people. Thank God there wasn't a problem. But anyway, so Samoa Joe's sitting behind the curtain for like his match. The match was last, and it's like, he's sitting by himself. I wasn't like really good friends with him, but I was, hey, so I remember walking over to him. I'm like 4 matches into the show, and I'm like, you all right, man? He's like, yeah, Cary. I'm just, so Kobashi didn't show up to the building till like 45 minutes before the match. I mean, he was in New York, but very special. That's the only Ring of Honor match you'll see on the internet or on the ROH. If you join the Honor Club on ROHWrestling.com, you can see all these matches. But that's the only match that has no commentary.
You don't need it. You don't need it because I don't think I could hear commentary over those chops and those kicks. I think Kobashi not showing up just led them to go, and probably a language barrier probably just led them to go, we're just going to strike and kick until someone doesn't get up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They got to New York City like a couple days ahead of time. And the night before, here's a good one. The night before that match, Paul McCartney from the Beatles was at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow.
And I remember saying to the guy from Noah, Ken, the translator, I had extra tickets. I was going. I go, do you want to go? I said, maybe Kobashi wants to go. And apparently he wasn't a Beatles fan, so he politely declined. But I mean, I don't know how. I don't think he and Joe they just went in the ring like the old days.
It's crazy. And then we're talking about the great matches of Ring of Honor past, and then we fast forward to now, and Ring of Honor is an amazing product now. It's coming back. It's coming back in a big way. I just released an interview with Leon St. Giovanni today. LSG is just fantastic. His match with Jay Lethal was unbelievable.
That was great.
I think he won. I told him I think he won on the judges' scorecards. I personally, Josh Woods is fantastic. That whole pure tournament. How was that for you after seeing Nigel and Brian and the lads from the past doing that pure tournament, and now seeing Tony Deppen and LSG and Flip Gordon and John Gresham just do their thing now. It's fantastic to see the contrast on.
Well, it was good to, we didn't have any new material for, I don't know, March, April, May, June, like 5 months. So the idea of rolling out with the pure tournament, I mean, look, wrestling in front of no people is tough. I don't whether you have imagine going to see a comedian in front of no people.
Oh.
So wrestling in front of no people is tough. So we knew we had to do something special, and I think the Ring of Honor production and the packages and the biographies, where you really learn about these guys. I learned a lot. Like LSG, I mean, I know him for, I don't know, he's been around what, 5-6 years, but when I listen to these packages, there's things that he talks about his career, or Brody King. I never realized, I mean, I've spoken to him, I've sat around with him and been after the matches, had a beer or just sat around. I didn't know that he was a musician and didn't get into wrestling till he was 27. I learned that through the Ring of Honor packages. But anyway, between the packages, the way it was filmed, not trying to have it look like there's, the WWE with these the fans in the boxes,
Yeah,
it doesn't work for me.
It's unnatural. We're just letting wrestling be wrestling and
right,
and whatever.
And piping in noise, and I think AEW does a little bit better job as far as, because they have a little bit of atmosphere there. But the bottom line, my man, is it's very hard to do pro wrestling in front of no people. But I think we did the best we could. And the Ring of Honor product in this lousy year of 2020, we have a great crew. I mean, besides, we're blessed to have PCO and, Roosh and Dragon Lee and old, Ring of Honor classics like the Briscoes and Jay Lethal.
Oh, yeah.
And Dalton Castle.
Delirious is,
of course, and Matt Taven and Vinny, and it's a great crew, and the proof is in the pudding. You watch these shows, and I guess this is going to be released after this year's Final Battle.
It will be. I can't wait to watch it, but it will be released afterwards. So I'm really looking forward. That card is stacked.
I wasn't there. And I have no idea about the results. I don't want to know.
Exactly.
And I'll be watching it tomorrow night as a fan, just like the rest of the people will be. And I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah, and you touched on someone there, PCO, and something that came of I think Jay's kind of intensity towards EC3 is we now have a team of two guys very well. How excited are you to see PCO and Mark Briscoe as a tag team? It's crazy.
Well, this past Monday they wrestled
Bruiser,
the Bouncers,
Beer City Bruiser, and Malone.
Right, Brian Malone. Yeah, so. Yeah, that's a hell of a team. It's very strange to see. It's very strange to see not to see both Briscoes together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a hell of a team, and we'll see what 2021 is going to roll out.
Yeah.
All it could be is better.
Oh, it can. Before I let you go, I wanted to touch on the Briscoes because they are known for being this crazy tag team who have had these amazing matches in the past, and they are maniacs in the ring. And they're quite scary when you see them in the promos. But what can you say about them in terms of how much of that is the Briscoes at home, or are the Briscoes? What I'm trying to ask is, are the Briscoes living the gimmick, or are they just crazy?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're completely crazy at home, but what you see with them is what you get. They're like, as they say in the United States, they're like good old boys.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I mean, I've known them for 18 years. I remember the early Ring of Honor, the very early Ring of Honor shows, Mark Briscoe couldn't wrestle in some states because he wasn't 18.
Oh wow,
But I mean, I have a lot of fun with those guys. And I'm glad I don't have to get in the ring with them. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've heard about Papa Briscoe as well through the podcast. Papa Briscoe is
in 2010 Final Battle.
Yeah,
he was in a match. Did you know that?
Oh, I saw the end of it in kind of one of the vignettes. I need to go back and have a look. But I seen that. Yeah, it's I remember you telling the story of that weekend, and he just seems like the craziest of the bunch. It's Mama Briscoe was driving the truck down a Final Battle. It's
right. Well, these guys like to have a drink now and then, so they can get a little fired up. But they're really good people.
Yeah, they are really good. Cary, I'm gonna let you go. It's been fantastic to talk to you, and I'd love to do it again. We can do it again whenever you fit, whenever you have a time, or because there's so many stories from that podcast. But I don't want to keep you too long, and I might wake people up in my house.
I appreciate you having me on. If I can help you, let me know, and good luck with your endeavors with this. And before I go, please, if you're new to Ring of Honor, or you could join Honor Club for I hate to be a whore here, but for $9.99 a month or whatever it is, and you get the pay-per-views. You get the back catalog, which is fantastic. And also subscribe to Last Stop Penn Station podcast with myself and Ian Riccaboni, and you'll hear, we touched, thank you for bringing up doing your homework. You could hear, there's like 3 episodes about Puerto Rico. There's dozens of episodes about working the streets.
It's so
good.
And
more to come, a lot more to come.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you having me on, man.
No, I can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to hear your next chat with the Ringsiders boys, and just chat to you again. And I'm learning every day when I listen to that podcast. It's genuinely one of the best podcasts on the internet. So everyone I will link it all in the description. Everything will be put in the description. Hopefully this is the New Year's Day episode. So hope you're starting off the year with a bang.
Let's hope this. It's got to be better than this last fucking year.
It has. And before, the last thing I want to know is, as we were just touched on Brody King, Final Battle is on Friday. I am putting my money on Brody to take the belt off Roosh. Where do you see that match going? Do you think we'll get a new world champion? Do you think Brody's got it? Brody's been showing a lot of fire. Do you think Brody's got it in him?
Yeah, he definitely has it in him. But Roosh is tough. There's one guy, when I'm sitting at ringside, somehow through 18 years of sitting next to Bobby Cruz, not every show, but many, somehow after 18 years, I've managed not to get mowed down. Bully Ray last month, he got me once, but I got him back. But Roosh is dangerous. He's dangerous for me to be at ringside. So what he'll do in the ring is talk about, unpredictable. So yeah, who am I putting my money on? I don't know. I'd like to see Brody win, but I think Roosh, he's a veteran and he's good. So I'm gonna pick Roosh.
Oh, we'll see what happens. Now listen, go and check out Last Stop Penn Station. Watch Final Battle on Fight TV and on Honor Club tomorrow. It's free for Honor Club subscription members, and it's on Fight TV on pay-per-view. Last Stop Penn Station on all the services, and go check out Cary on Twitter. All the links will be in the description. I've been the man that genetics forgot. Hopefully by the time we talk again, I will not have injured myself again. And I hope you stay very well. You and Lamb Chop stay very well, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Everybody, cheers to a better 2021, and not one that's as shit as the last. See you later.